you. And to officially start our meeting, we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Batchelor, would you lead us?
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Start this morning with item B, which is approval of the regular session minutes of June 7, 2021. Board, we received these in advance for our review. Are there any corrections or deletions this morning?
None.
Hearing none, I'll call for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second?
Call the roll, please.
And this, just to confirm, this is the meeting for July 7th. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Item C, presentation this morning. We have Jeremy Evans with us, the Clermont County Engineer. Good morning,
Morning.
Mr. Evans.
Jeremy Evans, County Engineer. So I'm here to present our 2020 annual report pursuant to Section 554302 of the Ohio Revised Code. Highlight some of the activities that took place in 2020, and then we'll talk a little bit about 21 moving forward. I think you all have received hard copies of the report. There's some available in our office and also on our website, clermontengineer.org, for anyone who would like to look that up. How do we advance here, David?
Arrow key.
Just try again.
Let's turn it off. Before, what'd you do?
It's a trick, Jeremy.
I know.
Yep.
I can see that.
There you go.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. All right, so we'll start with the condition of the roads and bridges. So we still have, we're holding right there around 385 miles of roads, so just under 400. That number fluctuates year to year, but it's pretty close to that. Average condition rating of our asphalt, we're sitting at 57. 100 would be brand new asphalt. The industry standard is that you want to resurface a road when it drops below 64. So obviously our average is a little bit below that, which is indicative of the rising costs that we've seen over the past few decades. So let's see, we have in the past, 64 a few years ago was our rating, 59, 57, so we're falling a little bit. Recently we saw an increase in the fuel tax, although it was unpopular, kind of necessary for our roads and bridges. So hoping to see that number stabilize. May not increase too much, but hopefully we can kind of stop that free fall. And we had been, before the increase, on a 38-year paving cycle. We're currently back to a 22-year paving cycle. Ideally, about every 12 years we would want to resurface. We're still looking at about every 22 years, much better than where we were, so making progress there. On the bridge front, we have 420 bridges that we maintain. We replace 66 in the last 10 years, so on average between 6 and 7 a year is typically what we're able to get to. The life expectancy of a bridge is about 50 years. We have 173 right now that are older than that 50-year time frame. Fortunately, most of those are in good shape. We do inspect those annually. We have 36 out of our 421 that are load restricted, meaning that they have a weight limit set on those. My goal is to see that number down in the single digits. I don't know that we'll ever get to 0 because as we take some off, others will obviously be added to that list. But we're down from 45 to 38 now to 36, making progress. On the culvert front, we have around 2,900 culverts in our inventory. 125 of those are rated what we would call critical. They're rated as a 3 or less on a scale of 1 to 9. Fortunately, again, most of those are in good shape. Our average condition is 7.5 on that 1 to 9 scale. That's up from a 7.2, so again, making some progress on those. Capital improvement projects in 2020, we invested nearly $5 million. $2 million of that, a little more than $2 million, came from grants. So about 41%, 42% we were able to secure from outside resources. The county maintenance program, this is a slide that, without a lot of context, it's easy to just kind of to gloss through. It's just a bunch of numbers. But this represents our workforce, really. This is the 36 to 38 guys, depending on the time of year, that we have in our highway department. And a lot of this covers some of the less notable projects. It's not the bridges and the roads and the culverts. It's the roadside mowing and the potholes and things that don't get as much attention. Obviously, 2020 was an unusual year for everyone with COVID. Our guys, we faced some challenges too. We lost actually about 3,000 man hours to COVID, either quarantine, childcare, whatever that might be. But it was still one of our most productive years in the highway department that we've ever had. Really proud of our guys, the way they stepped up when others had to leave, to quarantine, to do whatever. So we didn't see a lot of downtime on projects, which is good. So those guys don't get enough credit. Just wanted to kind of stop and mention that here. They did an excellent job last year. So.
Jeremy, before you move on,
Sure.
I know one morning you received an early phone call from me from some constituents here in Clermont County
Sure.
about the repair of potholes.
Yes.
You just talk about that for a second so that people don't really realize you're using whole different technology about doing that.
Yeah, so a few years ago, we purchased a piece of equipment called a Durapatcher. So it, we saw cut and clean out the pothole to get a clean surface, and it provides, it lays down an emulsion and then a kind of a chip seal type product over top of it. So it's a lot more durable method than the old method of just kind of shoveling some asphalt, tamping it down. Seems to last a lot longer, holds up a lot longer. Obviously, asphalt condition potholes, one of our big challenges year round, but especially coming out of the winter, it's one of our big tasks.
You evaluate roadways on a whole different set of criteria than people who drive. People who drive in Clermont County, they evaluate roadways and how many potholes are on a roadway.
Right.
And how many they hit,
Right.
so.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, so on the construction front, resurfacing in 2020, you remember last year we had planned to spend around $4 million on resurfacing last year, which was huge for us. Half of that, $2 million, was going to be from grant. The rest was going to be local funds. We would have bid that project right around the time that COVID hit, sometime in March. Our revenues were down when everybody stayed home for a while. They were buying less gas, so gas tax revenues weren't coming in. So we put a large portion of that on hold last year just because of the uncertainty. Didn't know how long that was going to last. So we did spend the $2 million grant with a little bit over $500,000 of local funds. We still were able to address about 17 miles of road last year, so still pretty significant year compared to years previous. And then the roads that we weren't able to get to in 2020, we'll see in a minute, we've carried those over, most of those into 2021. Landslides in 2020, we tackled 4. We spent almost $500,000. 80% of that came from either FEMA or Ohio Public Works Commission. So those were 4 landslides that we were able to get to, quite a few more in 2020. We'll talk about it in a minute. On the bridge side of things, it was a really good year. I told you the average for us is around 6 to 7. We were able to address 8 last year. These are either complete replacements or a bridge beam and deck replacement. Spent $1.38 million on those 8 bridges. And then the culverts, just because we touched about those a little bit earlier, in 2020 we replaced 55 at a cost of about $389,000. Revenues last year, if you look at just the top 2 categories, the license fees and the fuel tax, that's where the majority of our revenues come from. Those numbers were down from what we expected, but total really not much different than the year previous. So because of the additional fuel tax increase, kind of offset some of the decrease that we saw when people weren't driving or when the license fees were allowed to be delayed. So if we had to time it, we timed it perfectly, with a pandemic, because it didn't hurt us, too bad. We didn't have to make any cuts. We were able to kind of hold steady. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do as much as we had planned. And again, the $2 million from grant, our total revenue was a little over $14 million. Expenses in 2020, we've seen a lot of these numbers here already, but around 12 million. Some of that difference is in the asphalt, the resurfacing that we delayed until 2021, so that'll get carried over here into the next slide. So in 2021, we plan to resurface or repair 46 miles of road, spending a little more than $3 million to tackle these. I believe it is 20 different county roadways. That work actually started this week, so you'll probably start to see or hear a little bit about that that's happening out there. We also partnered this year with some of the townships. It's not indicated on this number, but you might remember our resurfacing bid came in around $3.5 million, and that included some township and municipal work as well. Landslides in 2021, spent around $1 million to address these 8 landslides. Those are actually completed already, and again, 80% of that came from Ohio Public Works Commission. Our bridge program on 2021, pretty aggressive. We put together this plan early in the year, late last year actually, to address 16 bridges, spending a little more than $8 million. Some of that is grant fund, obviously a lot of it OPWC. Again, some of these are construction costs, some of these are design costs. We'll see some of this work actually take place and get completed this year. Some of them will probably bid this year but not happen until next, or not be completed until next year. And then unfortunately, because of supply issues, some of these projects will probably get moved completely to next year. So may not be able to complete quite the aggressive list, but we're still, being proactive and trying to address as many as we can. This slide I probably should have had up a little bit further in our 2020 reflection, but in 2019 the tax map office moved into the engineer's office. So 2020 was their first full year in our office. They processed a little over 8,300 deeds and created almost 3,000 new parcels, which is one of the busiest years that they've ever seen. So despite the pandemic last year, obviously we know the real estate market was pretty well, moving pretty well. So, and that's where their work obviously is driven by the market. So this year already they're on pace to beat those numbers. So it's still pretty significant. So that's all I have, and again, the full report is out on our website if anybody wants to take a look. Be happy to answer any questions.
Jeremy, can I ask you on repair work?
Yes.
You've got Hopper Hill, Nordyke Road to 125.
Yes.
The reason I asked that is someone just asked me last week, they thought that it looked like the road was slipping again down toward Nordyke. Is that going to be part of the repair?
We'll repair the asphalt there. We've been keeping our eye on I don't really call it a landslide, but it is moving a little bit. It's not as significant as some of the others. It's been that way for several years, so we do watch that when it's on our list. When it gets to the point that part needs to be repaired, we will probably apply for OPWC.
Pier wall, not too far from that area.
Yes, and that's what typically happens. We fix a landslide, and then the new one starts. Several years later at the end, just continues.
Yeah. That's what you get when you build on a hillside, right?
Right, exactly.
Jeremy, just a couple of questions.
Sure.
I think you probably had the same inquiry we did, but we had an inquiry about, I believe it was 133, 276, and tar and chip, and
Yep.
what the state decided on that. Could you just expound on that a little bit?
Sure. So obviously those are state routes. So that's something that ODOT has put in place. It's not uncommon. It's kind of a maintenance practice. So like I said, we like to resurface a road once every maybe 12 years. Budgets, I know for us anyways, we as we mentioned, are beyond that. We can't quite get to that level. So we actually did it ourselves in 2015 and 2017, Hunt Road and Belfast Owensville. We did chip seal those roads. And the idea is to extend the life of that asphalt another 5, 7, maybe 10 years if you're lucky, and then you'll be able to come in and resurface. Water is one of the biggest enemies of our road surfaces. So if we can seal that off, the pavement underneath usually holds up pretty well. It doesn't disintegrate. So you're able to buy that extra time. So I'm assuming that that's what they're doing. That's their plan as well. We've done it in the past. I'm not saying we won't do it again. Right now we're in a position where we don't have to. We're able to make up some ground, but as costs continue to increase, if the revenue doesn't follow, we're going to be back in that same situation ourselves.
And you always get questions like that when people see a road that's always been asphalted and then somebody puts tar and chip on it. They look at tar and chip as the old technology that,
right.
Why are you going backwards? But you explained it well there.
It's a little bit different too than the old technology. There are new products. It's come a long way. I grew up on a road that was tar and chipped, and when we were kids, in the summertime, the tar would bubble up, and you go pop the bubbles or whatever. It's not like that. It's a lot different than it used to be. Holds up a little bit longer too.
And then one other question I just wanted to ask, with all obviously you're aware of the talk that's going on here in our federal government and obviously along the state as far as infrastructure dollars that will come available. Question to you would be, what would it take to get out of the dilemma that we are currently in when it comes to the repaving of roads? I mean, have you ever put I know you may not have already done that, but have you ever put a dollar figure on, you just basically said that our road number is about 57. To equate to that, that's about 50% of all the roads in Clermont County are over their life extension of the 10 to 12 years for repaving.
Right.
If money was made available so that you could catch that up, what would that dollar figure be?
So for us to be on that 12-year-ish paving cycle, we need to spend about $4 million per year in today's dollars.
Okay.
Over the past 15 years, we've seen asphalt prices increase 300%. They're not going up that quickly right now, but they're going to continue to climb. So obviously that number, that $4 million in today's dollars, would have to climb to match that.
Okay. And one of the things I would ask is that you take a serious look at that, and you can't make a commitment as to dollars, but if you had $10 million to use for paving of roads, maybe you could get back to us and just tell you what could you do for that, and how would these numbers change?
Sure. I mean, as far as shovel-ready projects go, resurfacing is an easy one.
Right.
We would be ready for any of that.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Jeremy, I got one other question for you.
Yes.
It's probably not on your radar at all, but I'm getting phone calls about the stone-covered bridge,
Okay.
and that there are cameras there, but they're not activated, and the concern about the weight on that bridge is it's one of our last big historical, beautiful bridges.
Sure.
Is there anything that can be done about that?
So several years ago when the bridge was rehabbed, some security cameras were added to the bridge. You remember, I think it was 2 years ago, we had a tree limb that fell through, did damage to the roof. It also took out the electrical system, did damage to the cameras as well. We weren't sure what the extent was at the time. So we've worked internally to try to get those back online, get them up and running. It's taken some time to troubleshoot, and we've had to swap components and whatever. But one of them is back online, it is operational. Not all four of them yet, but we're hopeful that now that we've got one, we can address the others. Part of the problem, though, is the enforcement side of things. So, if we see something on the camera that happened after the fact, I'm not the prosecutor's office, so I can't speak for them. But some of those are going to be difficult, I think, to prosecute or to chase down. I don't know how effective it would be. Our hope is that it's a deterrent, that the cameras are there. But as far as assessing penalties, I don't know how effective those can be.
But it's just good to know that the camera is back on.
It is.
And you're looking forward to putting the rest of them activating at this point, and that, I think that deters people from taking heavy equipment over it that they don't belong carrying over that bridge.
Right.
And then something happens, it's not only a life that's in danger, but the destruction to a historical piece of property that's there.
And I know the weight limit especially is hard to enforce via video because you
Yeah.
don't know how much. You can guess how much something weighed, but it's hard to prove. But again, hopefully it's a deterrent.
Great, thank you very much for
No
your
problem.
work. Appreciate all
Thank
you
you.
do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item D, public participation. Do we have anyone this morning that would like to address the board? Yes, good morning. Before we start, take the podium, please. In our public participation, we've reached that section of our agenda this morning. And during this time, the board does not answer questions or engage in a debate. No member of the public may comment about a matter that is not within the purview of the county commissioner's responsibilities. And the commissioners are not expected to comment on matters brought to the board during this time. Each speaker shall only speak once and shall be recognized by this board president before speaking. In accordance with the board rules of procedure, your comments are limited to 5 minutes. And do we have anyone from the prosecutor's office this morning for swearing in? No, we don't need it. That's fine. That's fine.
State name and address.
All right, thank you. We'll open the floor. You state your name and where you live, please.
My name is Glenn Rudolph. I live in Clermont County, Union Township. I'm also in the West Clermont School District. My address is 4582 English Creek Drive, 45245. And I appreciate having the opportunity to speak briefly with you this morning. I will be brief, and I'll leave you with a handout that documents what I'm about to present to you and has citations to the various authorities that I'm going to be referencing as well. And what I would really want to talk about is the American Rescue Plan and the funding associated with that. But prior to that, I want to give a little bit of background. As everybody knows, in 2020, Clermont County voters approved the mental health levy, the children's services levy, and the senior services levy by wide margins. And Clermont County voters have done that for years and years and years. I can't ever recall any of those levies ever being defeated. During 2020, unexpectedly, the sales tax revenues for the county increased as well by 4.5%. It's a great thing, particularly during a pandemic year. Also in 2020, effective January 1st of this year, 2021, the auditor's revaluation of properties in Clermont County was completed. And in and of it, there's a substantial rise in the value of the properties in the county. For the county itself, property values rose by almost $282 million. And in and of itself, that increase in valuation is going to bring in additional county revenues from property taxes of about 5.5%. Where I live in Union Township, it's most likely going to be greater than 7%. Those values rose a little bit faster than they did in the balance of the county. I know it's not a Clermont County, but again, in Union Township in 2020 as well, the voters stepped up there. They passed a fire levy. They passed a police levy by pretty wide margins. So, as well as in the West Clermont County School District, West Clermont School District, significant increase for the schools was passed in 2020 as well. So for the county, Union Township, West Clermont, I have to say the voters all stood up. They passed everything that the county commissioners, the Union Township Board of Trustees, and the West Clermont School District board members all requested. They got 100% and basically more, particularly with the revaluation. And sales taxes are going to increase this year. Volumes are up, economy's moving forward, and that's all a good thing. Now for the American Rescue Plan, nobody planned on those funds coming in at any level of government. That was just passed enacted into law on March 1st, 2021, and this year by President Biden. And as folks are aware, there's significant funds that are going to come to virtually every level of government. Again, unplanned, they weren't budgeted for. I view them as a windfall. Not saying that's good, not saying that's bad. I'm not suggesting to give them back. But I will be suggesting something different. At the county level, Clermont County is going to receive $40,096,219 in American Rescue funds. Union Township is going to receive $5,080,635, and the West Clermont School District, in its third round of funding, not including the first two, is going to receive an additional $9,714,624. So in total, just those three levels, and not including, again, those first two rounds for the West Clermont School District, it's just shy of $55 million that's going to be coming in. Now, again, the argument can be made, I think, that those are unplanned, unbudgeted windfalls, and they rightfully belong to the people. Now, government can spend it. There's nothing to prevent any level of government from not spending those. But again, they weren't planned for. Now, when the American Rescue Plan was passed, there was a tax mandate including that federal legislation, and that tax mandate attempted to prevent any level of government from doing a tax rebate, a tax reduction, tax credit, those type of things. From my perspective, the good news is that was viewed to be unconstitutional by a lot of folks, including the Ohio State Legislature. On just 14 days ago, on July 1st, the federal court addressed that issue. It had been before the court for several months, but but it addressed the issue and ruled that unconstitutional, and permanently enjoined Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen from enforcing that tax mandate or seeking any kind of recoupment. So at this point in time, that's the law in the state of Ohio. There is nothing to prevent this board, the Union Township Board of Trustees, the West Clermont School District from rebating or crediting those taxes back to the people. You don't have to spend it, in other words, and they can't recoup it. And that's what I'm suggesting that be done, that those funds be put back to the people for a number of different reasons. One is there's going to be budget creep. I mean, if we spend those monies, we didn't plan on it, our budget's going to go from here to here. In 2 years, those funds stop. There's going to be a gap because people are used to that new level of budget. And there's going to have to be a tax increase in order to close that gap if you don't cut expenditures. There's no reason to cut expenditures if you don't spend them to begin with. The second is increases, you're going to have, again, there's going to be sales tax increases that are going to be above most likely what was budgeted, and there's no need for an additional influx of funds. West Clermont School District has already had those 2 prior sets of funds. Bear with me just a moment. And I should mention also that, as far as the unconstitutionality of that provision of the tax mandate, the state of Ohio, the legislature, they came to the conclusion that was going to be ruled unconstitutional before it happened.
Could you just pause just a second?
Sure.
Board, Glenn has went over his 5 minutes of time. Would we like to grant him, I would like to grant him additional time so he could finish. Is that okay?
It's okay with me.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the legislature in their 2-year budget at the state level, before this opinion and permanent injunction was issued by the federal court, cut taxes, income taxes, by $1.64 billion. They defied the the American Rescue Plan, and they were ready to go to battle and fight for that. So the legislature's acted at the state level to some extent in terms of the funds that they received. What I'm suggesting is that all those funds, 100% of the funds that were unplanned for and unbudgeted, coming from federal legislation or an allocation from the state due to that federal regulation, be credited back to the residential property owners, not the business property owners. They got their own pandemic relief through numerous programs, but the residential property owners didn't. And if it went back in proportion, in other words, Mr. X paid 1% of property taxes in Clermont County, Mr. X, in my opinion, should get 1% of those funds back in terms of a credit against those property taxes. It'll be significant. It'll be huge. That's consistent with, I think, the overwhelming, I'll say that Clermont County is conservative. Our boards are conservative. At the county level, at least the Union Township level, I can't speak so much for the, I just don't have enough knowledge from the West Clermont School District level. It's moved around quite a bit. But it's relatively conservative. And we've elected folks that have a conservative background. You folks are all Republicans. Union Township's Republicans. Many of them are members of the, you're all members of the Republican Party. And the Republican Party's principles are low taxes, limited government, and keep government close to the people. I think what's before us, and I think everybody's doing a great job, by the way. I mean, this is no political thing at all. I think what's before us is a real clear-cut test of who we are as a people. If we keep the funds at the government level and spend them, is the government serve the people, or does the people serve the government? It's really their funds. They're going to have to pay it twice if you keep the funds and spend it. Once, federal income taxes are going to have to increase. We, our children, and our grandchildren are all going to pay for this. It's got to be paid back. The second, when I mentioned that if we spend the money and then we got a budget gap in 2 years because we spent $50 million, taxes are going to have to go up at the local level to cover that. We're going to pay again, those residential property owners. We should avoid that. There's no reason, there is no free lunch. And folks are calling this free money, but it's not. I mean, it'll never be free money. I think we're going to pay twice, if not more, because the interest in that debt is going to go up as well.
Okay, we're at 10
Okay.
minutes?
Yep.
We're 10 minutes.
All right.
And thanks.
Thank you very much.
Can I give you a copy of this?
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
I'll take that. Make sure they get a copy.
And I thank you for your time.
You bet.
All I'm asking is for
coming in.
consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You did a fine job. And just so that you know, you are our very first person in public participation since this board opened up from the pandemic. Thanks. Thanks for coming.
Anyone else want to speak this morning? Now we're going to close public participation, hearing and seeing none. Item E, consent agenda. Board, you've received this in advance. Are there any corrections or deletions to the consent agenda this morning?
None here.
Call for a motion to approve.
Make the motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. We'll move into item F, which is item number 10 this morning. It's the recommendation of the Board of County Commissioners to adopt Resolution 121-21, resolving to approve payment to vendors in the total amount of $1,397,677.73, as set forth in the BCC approval invoice report for checks dated July 14, 2021, BCC directed prepaid invoices reports and/or the procurement card transaction report as presented by the county auditor on July the 12th, 2021, and further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants for same pursuant to Section 319.16, the Ohio Revised Code. Board, do I have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Item number 11. Do we have Craig Reisner? Well, the engineer is going to do it. Good morning again.
For the road vacation, so I thought I would cover this piece.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so item 11 is the recommendation to execute record plat numbers 629-3290 through 629-3291 for the following subdivision located in Batavia Township, and further to execute the performance and maintenance bonds as well as the performance bonds for sidewalks as surety for the same relative to the construction or of the below listed streets. So this is for the Derby Place subdivision, Section 3, Block B in Batavia Township. Performance and maintenance bond of $25,000 and $10,000. Sidewalk bond $28,680. This is for the street named Roses Run. And then also for Derby Place subdivision, Section 4, Block B. Again, $25,000 and $10,000 performance and maintenance bonds. Sidewalk $28,680 again for another section of Roses Run, also in Derby Place.
Board, you've heard the recommendation. I need a motion to execute record plat number 629-3290 through 629-3291. This is Derby Place subdivision, and this is in Batavia Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes, thank you. Item number 12. Good morning, Lyle Bloom. How are you today?
Great.
Good.
Item 12 is a recommendation not to proceed with the Ward's Corner Road Sewer Petition Project located in Miami Township due to the lack of support from property owners for said project, and to authorize the Clermont County Water Resources Department to send notice to the owners of property affected by said project, advising them that the project is no longer active and declaring that all proceedings with respect to same are hereby discontinued. So we received a petition to extend sanitary sewer along a portion of Ward's Corner Road on March 9th of 2020. There's a total of 11 properties and property owners affected that would be benefited by the project. With the written responses we've received, 5 of the property owners are opposed, 4 are in support, and 2 have never responded. We've sent them 3 different sets of mailings asking for their support or opposition or any comments, and we have not received any from those 2 owners. The total per parcel assessment was estimated at $24,200 plus a $3,340 capacity fee that anyone who connects to any resident that connects to the public sewer that pays. So they were opposed to that, and that's our recommendation. The majority were opposed, I should say.
Okay. Board, you've heard the recommendation not to proceed with the Ward's Corner Sewer Petition Project located within Miami Township and the contents therein. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Item number 13.
Item number 13 is a recommendation to execute maintenance bonds in the amounts as outlined below as surety for the installation of water and sanitary sewer main extensions to serve the following subdivisions. The first two is for Prestbrook Place, Section 2, Block A, and Prestbrook Place, Section 3, Block C. And then the last four there is Derby Place, Section 3, Block A, Derby Place, Section 3, Block B, Derby Place, Section 4, Block A, and Derby Place, Section 4, Block B.
Board, you've heard the recommendation to execute the maintenance bonds in the amounts as outlined, and this is for Prestwick Place and Derby Place as described. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Item number 14. Thank you, Lyle. Michael McNamara, good morning.
Morning, Commissioners. Michael McNamara, Director of Community and Economic Development. Item 14 is a recommendation of Michael McNamara, Director, Department of Community and Economic Development, with the concurrence of Greg Bickford, Assistant County Administrator, to authorize Claire B. Corcoran, President of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute grant agreement by and between County of Clermont, Ohio, and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, Columbus Field Office, Office of Community Planning and Development, 200 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43215, including all relevant understandings and assurances for the provisions of funding for grant number B20 UW 390010 relative to the fiscal year 2020 U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Community Development Block Grant CARES Act CDBG CV program for the County of Clermont, Ohio, in the revised amount of $1,360,070 for the grant period beginning July 1st, 2020 through September 1st, 2027, pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein and in concert with the application for federal assistance ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on June 17th, 2020, and awarded on February 10th, 2021.
Board, you've heard the recommendation to execute the grant agreement, and this is with Clermont County, Ohio, and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, grant number B-20-UW-39-0010, and that's relative to the fiscal year 2020 U.S. Department of Housing, Urban Development, Community Development Block Grant CARES Act program. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Michael, this block grant apportionment was per the last
Yes,
outline?
CV3, and that allotment was $787,047 in conjunction with the $573,023 that we received with CV1. So that's how we arrived at the $1,360,070.
Got it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. In future meetings, our new CDBG director, Desmond Meada, will be presenting on CDBG items, and I would introduce him at a future meeting.
Great, thank you very much. You want to introduce him
Is
this
he here?
afternoon?
Is he here?
Why not now?
So Desmond Meada is our new Community Development Administrator. I want to thank the commissioners for your vision and assistance in making sure that we get the right staffing in our Community and Economic Development Department. Desmond is a graduate of Auburn University, and he has almost 20 years of experience in administering community development block grant programs. When we cast our net out for this open position, a new position, we wanted an elevated position. We cast it out far and wide. We wanted the best. I believe that we got the best, and I will let Desmond take it.
Michael, before you do that,
Commissioner.
I saw where there was an award. You want to mention that?
Yes, later this month, Mr. Meada will be conferred the Ohio Conference of Community Development Professional of the Year Award, and I believe that'll be on July 29th of this year. So that means even his peers within the state believe that he is the best. So.
Great. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners, Administrators. Well, thank you for giving me the honor of working for Clermont County. I've already started talking with some of your nonprofits. I talked with the YWCA this morning. So, as you know, you became an urban county some years back. That gives you the board these federal funds from HUD to spend in the best way that you guys know how to spend them here at the local level. So I'm looking forward to meeting with your townships, your villages, your nonprofits. I've already met our development staff. You've got an excellent staff there, and we're just looking forward to working with you on this grant and also on other grants that we can go for. And just proud to be here and to serve the residents of Clermont County.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Very pleased you're here, and perhaps maybe we'll do a picture this morning. Mr. McNamara, would you like to step up with the board also, and we'll do a picture as a welcome?
Desmond, thanks for coming to Clermont County. Welcome, and congratulations on your recent recognition.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
You made your lineup.
Oh, wow.
Right there in the middle.
I'll show this one to TC.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure he'll enjoy that. For those in attendance, Desmond comes from Butler County. Butler County, their T.C. Rogers is one of their commissioners there. He serves with me on the OKI board, and he will be he will have something to say about this.
And he's a commissioner as well.
Yes,
I enjoyed
absolutely.
working. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing him in. Go back to our regular agenda here at this time. We're on item number 15. Mr. Eigel, would you take that, please?
Sure. Commissioners, this is the disposition of the adoption of an alternative method of apportionment of the undivided local government fund for calendar year 2022. So to date, all 14 townships and one municipality have passed the same resolution, and they're using the Phase 3 formula, which is the final phase formula. The resolution also excludes the approval of the City of Milford, and this represents a majority of the townships and municipalities, so 15 of the 26. Mary Raines gave me the estimate, and the estimate's about $3,026,100. So if the board has any questions, concerns, how to move forward, any direction to administration to prepare the resolution, I'll do that.
So you need us at this point to adopt this? Is that correct? Or just any?
Just give us direction on how you want to proceed. If you want to proceed with the township formula, the Phase 3 formula, we can prepare that for next week.
Yes.
We only have 2 sessions left before the August deadline.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we'll prepare that for next week.
All right.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah. Do you want a motion? Do we have to do a motion? No?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Good. Thank you for asking. Thank you.
You will next week.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 16, Mary Raines. Good morning.
Good morning. Mary Raines from OMB. Item 16 is a request to increase the 2021 supplemental appropriations for the general fund for the Sheriff's Administration. There's $38,077 for regular salaries and $12,010 for fringe benefits for a new position. And then in the Narcotics Unit Drug Law Enforcement Fund, there's $960.79 into other expenses in order to fully expend that fund.
Board, you've heard the recommendation to resolve and approve and authorize changes in the annual appropriation resolution number 191-20 for calendar year 2021 as described by Mary Raines. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Thank you, Mary. Good morning. Okay, we're moving now to our additions to the agenda. Are there any additions this morning to the agenda, Mr. Eigel?
Yes, we have 3 for the board's consideration. The first is the employment of outside legal counsel to represent Treasurer Jeannie Zermely. The second is a settlement agreement and release of claims with Daniel and Lori Jones. And third is a table of organization change in the Department of Public Safety Services.
Okay. Board, I need a motion to add these 3 items to the agenda this morning. Do I have a motion to add?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Mr. Eigel, do you want to present?
Sure.
Or Holly, okay, item number 1.
So the first is a recommendation that the board resolve to employ outside legal counsel to represent Clermont County Treasurer Jeannie Zermely as it relates to all litigation filed by Christopher Hicks in the United States District Court, Southern District of Ohio. It's case number 120CV00680, all of which is in concert with the joint application to employ outside legal counsel with Mark DeColvey, Clermont County Prosecutor, pursuant to Section 305.14 of the Ohio Revised Code, ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on 7/7/2021, and filed with the Clerk of the Common Pleas Court on 7/8/2021, and in compliance with the decision entry in case number 2021 MISC 00030, ordered by Judge Jerry McBride on 7/8/2021, and filed with Barbara Wiedenbein, Clerk of the Common Pleas Court on 7/8/2021. The legal counsel is Christopher Pagan, and compensation is at a rate of $250 per hour with a total amount not to exceed $10,000.
Board, you've heard the recommendation to employ outside legal counsel to represent the Clermont County Treasurer Jeannie M. Zermely. And this relates to all litigation filed by Christopher Hicks in the U.S. District Court, Southern District of Ohio, and captioned Christopher Hicks versus D. Vincent Ferris, Clermont County Prosecuting Attorney et al. And it gave the case number of 1:20-CV-00680. And as described in this reading this morning, it is for private counsel. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion this morning?
Just let me get this straight. This is a case where a current office holder that's elected to office, Christopher Hicks, who is a member of the Republican Central Committee here in Clermont County, is actually seeking a suit against the prosecutor, the past prosecutor here in Clermont County, D. Vincent Ferris. Is that what I understand?
Yes. It's Christopher Hicks versus D. Vincent Ferris, Clermont County Prosecuting Attorney.
And we are having to commit to a $10,000 expenditure to represent one of our elected officials. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion this morning? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
I
Second item?
think Lyle is going to present this one.
Thank you, Lyle.
All right, the next one is a recommendation from myself, Lyle Bloom, Director of the Clermont County Water Resources Department, with concurrence from Greg Bickford, the Assistant County Administrator, to authorize Claire B. Corcoran, President of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute the settlement agreement and release of claims among the Board of County Commissioners of Clermont County, Ohio, and Daniel K. and Lori M. Jones. And this is in relation to a sanitary sewer backup.
Board, you've heard the recommendation to execute the settlement agreement and release of claims among the Board of County Commissioners of Clermont County, Ohio, and Daniel K. and Lori M. Jones. Do I have a motion to approve this morning?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Thank you. Third item this morning.
Skaden?
Morning.
Good morning, Mr.
Morning.
Skaden.
First meeting I've been to since the pandemic's been listed.
Well, welcome back.
Full faces again.
It is. Good to have you.
This item is above my recommendation with the concurrence of Greg Beckford, Assistant County Administrator, to adopt revised table of organization for the Department of Public Safety Services, reclassifying one DPSS Project Manager, class number 79535, pay range A, to DPS Program Administrator, class number 89180, at a pay range D, as outlined in Exhibit A, attached thereto and made part thereof, effective on approval, and further authorize the update of the appropriate
internet links, and dependencies accordingly.
Board, you've heard the recommendation to adopt a revised table of organization for the Department of Public Safety Services. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Thank you. Any other additions this morning?
No other additions. We have about 6 or 7 minutes before the public hearing. I don't think we'd have time for executive session, so if the board would consider recess until 11 for the public hearing.
Could I have a motion to go into recess until 11 o'clock for a public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes, we are in recess at this time. We will come back for our public hearing at 11 o'clock and then resume our agenda. Good morning. This is a public hearing for Wednesday, July the 14th, 2021. It is now 11 o'clock, and this is a request to vacate Broadway Street situated in Goshen Township pursuant to Chapter 5553.054 of the Ohio Revised Code. Today is the date and time and location for this public hearing on this request to vacate. If anyone is present this morning and has not signed in, please go back and sign in for our official record. At this time, do we have the county engineer's report? Craig Reisner, Deputy Surveyor, good morning to you.
Morning. Craig Reisner, County Engineer's Office. Today we're reviewing a proposed vacation of Broadway Street located in Goshen Township. The length of the vacation is 463.30 feet, which is 0.088 miles. I've reviewed a provided plat and description contained in Goshen Township Board of Trustees Resolution Number 11-2021, dated May 11th, 2021. Resolution requests vacating a portion, 463.30 feet of Broadway Street located in Goshen Township. Broadway Street is a dedicated right-of-way as it appears in Deed Book O, page 549 of the Clermont County Recorder's Office, and was recorded in December of 1816. Legal description and plat were provided by Lutz Surveying Services and are complete and acceptable for vacation purposes. Proposed vacation will not reduce Goshen Township ODOT road mileage certification and will not create any landlocked parcels. If the Board of County Commissioners approve the requested vacation, a Mylar copy of the vacation plat will be required to be filed in the tax map office. If the board approves this vacation, by ORC 5553.045, Goshen Township will be required to pass a second resolution to be submitted. Broadway Street is a 71-foot wide right-of-way. It begins at Plum Street and is heading east for 463.30 feet. This has been an issue for Goshen Township for some years now. I looked, and we worked on this in 2007. So this has been a recurring issue that the township has wanted to vacate this portion of the street. There are 18 adjacent parcels to the proposed vacation, but of those 18 parcels, there are only 3 owners, Thomas, Hare, and Young. And the county engineer's office has received no correspondence concerning this vacation.
Okay,
Thank
thank you very much. At this time, if anyone would like to give any testimony this morning, we have the prosecutor, Jason Fountain, with us this morning to swear anyone in. If anyone would like to speak this morning, give any testimony. Thank you. Mr. Mooney?
You providing testimony just yourself? Yes. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony that you'll be providing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you. But just take the podium, state your name.
Harry Holbert, Goshen Township Planning and Zoning Director.
I'm sorry. What did you say? I didn't hear you.
Harry Holbert,
Okay,
Goshen Township Planning and Zoning Director.
thank you.
You're welcome. So I appreciate the consideration of the commissioners today in regards to this vacation. So one of the adjoining landowners came to us in regards to the vacation of this property. There are a lot of distressed parts of this property, meaning it has a distressed building, it has several boats, vehicles, and so on. They came to us with the intent to try to clean that. We told them it's not your property, you really can't clean it. They were looking at actually adding at least half of those parcels onto their existing parcels, which he has several along Old Main Street. Okay? So the trustees, as you saw by resolution, did pass the paperwork to kind of forward this to the county commissioners for your review. They are behind the owner in this. They'd like to see it vacated. One, so that, the biggest reason, so we can get it cleaned up. I'll take any questions that you have for me or.
Any questions, board?
Just a question. When this is vacated, this is going to go to 2 landowners, is that correct?
As it's platted, there's 3 separate landowners. Now, the one landowner, which is Charlie Thomas, he has several parcels along Old State Route 28. He's the one filing application. He's the one that actually went to the Board of Trustees to have the vacation. The other properties, we have no correspondence with them yet. His intent, and we've recommended that he reaches out to them in regards to seeing if they will sell it to him for whatever, $1, whatever they work out, but it's a private arrangement once we get past this process first.
Are the other property owners even aware that you're doing this process at this point?
Well, that brings up a point. So when I looked at the procedure for township to vacate a road, one of those, item number 6, is has to do with the county actually notifying the adjoining property owners. So as long as that notification has went out, then I would say yes.
And we're fine.
And it did.
And it did go out, so we're good.
Yes, ma'am. We sent notification of today's hearing to, and the proposed, my apologies. We sent notification of today's public hearing, a copy of the resolution that was submitted by Goshen Township, as well as all the information they needed if they would like to participate or correspond in regards to today's hearing, to Edward and Lori Hare, Haerr, Charlie Thomas III, and Daniel and Sarah Young. And those addresses were each provided to us as indicated from the engineer's office as the adjoining property owners. And that notification was provided.
Thank you for that clarification.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Board, any other questions this morning? Okay, thank you. Any other testimony this morning? Any proponent or any opponent request to testify this morning? Hearing none, anyone else would like to comment this morning? Hearing none?
Claire.
Yes. Oh, you would? Thank you.
I really don't have anything to say, but I don't.
Do you want to, Mr. Mooney, do you want to,
Fountain.
Mr. Jason?
Fountain.
Mr. Fountain.
Jason, would you like to come up?
On the road vacation? Let me swear you in just.
Yeah, okay.
for further-
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, real quick, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Could you state your name and your address for us, please?
My name's Charlie Thomas. My son, Charlie Thomas, is one of the owners of the property that this young man was talking about. He wasn't able to make it. We didn't even really know if we needed to be here or not, but I came here to represent him. But he has 8 or 9 of those parcels that butts up to this property that's in question. He was one that started the proceedings on this.
Okay.
We were under the impression that back several years ago, which must have been approximately 2007, when Goshen had approached the person that owned the house before my son did. There is a building in very poor shape that's on this property. The property's probably, this building is about 80% on this Broadway Street, and it definitely needs tore down. It's not only an eyesore, but it's extremely unsafe, which it's easy to tell that from the road itself. I I guess previous to my son buying this place a couple years ago, the township had been on the previous owners to tear that building down, remove a bunch of the boats, tires, shingles, etc. So my son is willing to do this, but he has a hard time doing it if the property's not his, being that he had nothing to do with dumping any of this stuff on there. But
For clarification, was part of this the Huffacre property at all?
yes, it was the.
That's exactly what I thought
Exactly.
it was.
That, I forgot the gentleman's name, but that
Yeah,
was.
it was the Huffacre property with that house and everything going down the hill that then feeds into the creek going back up. Okay, I know exactly.
I
what you're
understand
talking
there
about.
was several opportunities with him through the court systems and zoning, etc. But my son would like to make all that right and clean it up.
All right, okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
Thank you.
Any other comments this morning from anyone? Okay. So acknowledge for the record, any other correspondence did we receive relative to the request to vacate Broadway Street situated in Goshen Township?
I did not receive any, and I believe Craig stated as well that he has not.
Okay, so at this time, we'll ask to close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to close?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. If we want to proceed this morning, do we want to go ahead and proceed this morning?
If the board is so inclined, I would like to request that they consider an add-on to determine to vacate Broadway Street.
Thank you.
So we'll do the add-on first.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Okay, so this would be the recommendation to adopt resolution number 122-21, determining to vacate Broadway Street situated in Goshen Township, Clermont County, Ohio, as described therein, pursuant to and in compliance with section 5553-045 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Do we have a motion to approve this morning?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Thank you very much for your attendance and all your work on that.
Thank you.
Good luck to your son.
I'll be helping him.
I'm sure you will. At this time, we're going to go back. Can we go back to our regular agenda, Mr. Eigel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At this point, we have no other additions to the agenda. Item H is, I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Section 121.22G1 of the Ohio Revised Code to consider the dismissal, discipline, or compensation of a public employee or more public employees. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor? Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes, we're going into executive session. We will return shortly. Thank you. We returned from executive session today. There were no decisions made. Moving on our agenda now. Mr. Eigel, do we have any other additions this morning to the agenda?
Yes, we have two for consideration, two personnel actions, one in the Department of Job and Family Services and one in the Department of Public Safety Services. Mr. Hott, we'll have to add those to the agenda first.
Morning, Mr. Hott.
Good morning.
You want to add them to the
Oh,
agenda?
yes,
That
I
would be the
do.
motion.
Could I have a motion to add those two items to the agenda? One for,
So moved.
Second.
call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Thank you, Sandy.
The first personnel action will be with the Department of Public Safety Services. It is for Christina Hafner, Emergency Resource Technician, for a termination probationary removal effective today, July 14th, 2021.
Board, you've heard the reading of the termination for today for July the 14th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
The second personnel action is with the Department of Job and Family Services, Jessica Fitzgerald, clerical specialist, administrative leave, disciplinary without pay, effective July 19th, 2021.
Board, you've heard the recommendation for the disciplinary administrative leave without pay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Thank you. Any other additions today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, moving on to county staff, elected officials discussions. Any county staff, elected official discussions? Hearing none, moving on to member comments. Members, any comments this afternoon, actually? Any comments, Commissioner Painter?
You know, as you guys know, just attended the National Association of Counties annual conference in Washington, D.C. You know, a lot of information to bring back to you guys. One of the things to make sure this year, NACO has placed all of the discussions that were put on YouTube. So if you would like to watch them, just like I saw them live, you can watch them at the leisure of your desk or at home by just going on YouTube and typing in National Association of Counties, and it'll pull up all the 21 meetings. A lot of the discussion that was there was about the American Recovery Plan, obviously, and what the Treasury is considering as far as their guidelines, as far as the use of that money. So you can see it up front. Lots of different speakers. Secretary of the Treasury and the Undersecretary both spoke there. So did the Vice President of the United States and the Speaker of the House. So if you would like to hear where they're at and how this particular plan came up, they explain that in their discussions there. So there are many, many other things there that would be of interest to you. So I encourage you to take a look at that in your leisure. A second thing, just to make a discussion, is before I went up, I had an opportunity that one of the citizens had called in about a piece of property that he was selling. And it is his homestead, and on that homestead, it was on one plot, but the people that he was selling it to wanted to make it into two plots, because it had a mobile home on that property and his residence on that property, and plenty of room to do both. And one of the things I ran into there is going over to our planning organization to see how that replot was going, is that we use a particular, and Greg, you know that better than me, a particular program called InterGov, that they can actually do that planning on there. And one of the things that I saw in there, just to kind of bring you up, Tom, was the fact that our InterGov system has different levels of access that you can purchase through software. And one of the things that we don't have the ability to do, because we don't have that upgraded software, is to intake, plan, and review that replotting and those plans by electronic access. And so, you know, one of the things I just wanted to ask you, Greg, and you, Tom, to take a look at, to see what it would cost, what we would need to do to bring that system up so that we have that ability. It was very, very cumbersome to find out, first of all, where that replot was in review, who had requested the replot, because the homeowner was not aware that the buyer was replotting this property. And they had just been told that the county would not approve the replot. But we couldn't go in and see the exact comments, why that was not acceptable. So when I ask about that, if we had that additional platform and software, we would be able to view all that. And the minute that those drawings came in from developers, it would get uptake into the system, and we would have that. And I think that would be a really, really great program to bring the county forward and make it faster, quicker, obviously more technologically advanced.
Okay.
So just wanted to mention that.
Bring that information back to the board next week. Greg? Yep.
Thank you.
And with that, that's all I have.
Nothing? Just to add to that for next week's discussion, I would like Mr. Eigel and Mr. Bickford, if you could please look into a discussion and review of the 911 fees coming up. That I know there's been meetings with of different chiefs, et cetera, and discussions of this. But at the same time, I'd like us also to address, we have one township who has a delinquency in paying their 911 fees. I'd like to see what recourse we're going to take to get that corrected, in fairness to all the other townships in areas that are paying for their fees. And I requested you look into that for the next meeting, if you would, please, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And any other comments this morning? If we're hearing none, then our next meeting will be July the 21st, at the same time. We thank you for joining us today and appreciate your patience while we were in executive session. Thank you. I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.